Hello there friends, welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. I'm Erin and I have a double page scrapbook layout for you. We're going to be using the Country Woods wood grain collection from Stampin Up. This is gorgeous. I've been kind of mixing it in with some other paper collections, but today we're going to use it as a standalone paper pack. I'm just going to be bringing in some cardstock, and I have selected this sketch from the Creative Design Team's Volume 1 sketchbook. If you've been following along, you know that we recently released a volume 2 and we're very excited about that, but there's still great sketches in volume 1, so we don't want to forget about these. And I like this because you can see it's got a 5x7, and I love this group photo. We were in Alaska enjoying crab at the iconic Tracy's Crab Shack, so that's what I'm going to be documenting today. And I'm following along fairly closely with this sketch, but I'm going to switch things up just a little bit. So let me clear this out of the way. This is my main focal photo of all of us, and then I've got some 4x6s and 3x4s for the right hand side of the page. So we'll just scoot these out of the way. Aren't these gorgeous? I am really enjoying having wood grains in non-traditional wood grain tones, if you will. I absolutely love these, but it's just been fun to use these different colors also. As I mentioned, this is a double page layout, and you're not actually going to see the white base. It's going to be all pattern paper, but in order to preserve that pattern paper, I'm going to kind of use this as scaffolding to attach my pieces to. This is my favorite pattern paper from the Country Woods collection, and it's bringing in all of those gorgeous colors, and conveniently my friend is wearing most of those colors in her hat. So thank you, Bonnie, for just having that all put together for me, right? But there's the melon colors in the chairs and in the crab, and we've got the glacier color in her hat, and of course blues because we were, looking out over the ocean there. So this is, on the sketch, you have two of the, it could be cardstock or pattern paper. You've got these strips, and in the Creative Design Team sketches, all of the measurements are included, which is really nice. So I thought it would be fun, rather than having just a, solid white base, let's bring in this wood grain because it just has this rustic feel. And this is Tracy's Crab Shack. It truly was like a shack on the beach with the most amazing food. So this is just a tent, and they had like propane heaters, and it was just very rustic but delicious. Following along the measurements of the sketchbook, I've got this piece of, this is Sapphire. If you're using Stampin' Up cardstock, you would want Night of Navy. So then this piece is going to carry this all the way across. And then again, I'm just kind of piecing everything together to preserve cardstock. So what I'm going to do is remove all of the pieces that are behind. So basically I'm just going to have a strip here and here of the wood grain, and then same for this side. So I'm going to pause the camera and I'll go ahead and cut all of those pieces out. I'll be right back. Through the magic of film editing, I went ahead and cut all those down and pieced it out here onto my sheet of white cardstock. And it's really nice because I only had to cut into one of this particular wood grain rather than using two whole sheets. So, wherever we can save paper, that is always nice to do. Those little offcuts and scraps are great for creating embellishments or even cards. For the right hand side, we have this photo grid. They have one spot for their journaling, but I have more photos, so I'm going to use that journaling spot for a photo. And we're going to offset our 4x6s here, and then there's where you would go up and get your food from. And it was pouring down rain. We had really great weather for the most part, but when we were in Juneau on this particular day, it was raining very heavily. So we were happy there were propane heaters inside of this little tent here. Off camera, I was looking at different paper options. They have a couple mats behind this main photo, and I really like both of these. So this is Melon cardstock, which is a close to my heart color. And if you have Stampin' Up cardstock, you might want to go with Peach Pie. And there's Calypso Coral that might look nice. I don't have all the Stampin' Up colors yet, so I'm just kind of working with a color chart of comparisons. But this I really like too. It just matches her hat beautifully and the colors are really nice. So in the actual sketch, there are a couple different layers. They have the photo matted on one, which I already have mine bordered in white, and then they have this kind of file tab that isn't going all the way. It's just kind of a layer sticking out the upper and left hand side. So we might kind of play around with something like that. But let me go ahead and cut these down. Mine's going to look a little bit different than the sketch. So let's try this one. And I can always use a punch to cut a little, or a die cut to cut a file tab if I want to. So maybe that's kind of how they have it. And then there's an embellishment cluster here. And again, I already have mine matted in white, so I thought it might be fun to poke this one out the bottom like that. We could even kind of put them like a little bit askew. That's always a fun look. Let's go with that for now. Now, this is deviating from the original sketch somewhat. They do not have these photos matted on this square, but I want to bring this melon color over to the other side. So I really like the way this adds that pop of color and grounds all of these photos together. It is time for the fun embellishing process. I've got a couple stamps I've selected here from my stash. This is Cape Cod Scrapbooking. We've got this beautiful realistic crab, and that is going to be a great embellishment. And then Food and Memories, which is just a fun food and friends, which is perfect, themed stamp set. I won't be using the taco truck, obviously, but some of these other phrases, maybe the silverware, meals and memories, I mean, those are perfect. So yeah, I'm excited to put these to work here. And I know I've got some embellishments already in here. I will frequently do this when I have leftover bits from a previous project. I'll just tuck them in the envelope like this. Hey, look, we've got a blue crab. That is Bluebird ink, which is a little bit more vibrant. And then there's a seahorse. I don't want to use the seahorse. This crab, that's not melon. I bet you that's desert rose, but it kind of goes. It's a little bit more brown. We might be able to use that guy. And then this is perfect. Little lagoon colored coral there, so we could use that. But I want to try stamping some of the crabs in melon to see how that looks, and we will compare between that and the desert rose. I'm going to go ahead and grab my Misty. We'll get this little guy inked up onto some white paper. And I've had a few questions lately regarding stamping blocks versus a platform like this. The more solid a stamp is, I tend to grab my Misty. But if it's an outline stamp, you usually get a great impression every time with your block. And blocks are important for adding like direct to your project or scatter, splatter, background stamping, things like that. So they definitely both have a place. I do think I like the melon. It's a bit brighter and jumps off the background. Let me go ahead and bring this back into frame here. So I know I want an embellishment cluster in this lower corner, so we could use one of the little crabby guys and then maybe tuck the little coral in, and that's looking nice already. But one thing, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I love to kind of ground my embellishments on a shape. So circles or doilies or a tag or something like that. And you'll see this is going to make a big difference here. So we're going to bring that in, the coral kind of tuck out from behind, so it's originating from that circle, and that just really highlights our crab. Now you could just have stamped the crab on the circle, but I'm going to pop that up with a little tape. This, do you see this edging here? I think that that's such a beautiful little detail. That is from the Spotlight on Nature dies. You can see there are two sets of circles in like graduating sizes, and they all have like different border patterns on there. So you can kind of mix and match, and I love them. The largest one is 4 inches, so that's definitely well suited for a scrapbook layout. This is actually the second size down, but yeah, super excited about those. I actually tried to get those in my startup bundle, but they were not available, but I knew they were going to be a great staple in the craft room. Looking back at the Cape Cod stamp set, there is this long rope border, and ropes have just, a nice nautical feel to them. I think this is going to make a good transition piece between my two wood grains. I've got toffee ink and a scrap of white cardstock. Now, this is only peeking out the top and bottom, so I'm going to have a little bit of a gap here in between my stamping, but it's okay because I'm going to trim this down. So I'm going to just re-ink that up. It's a little bit challenging because I can't quite get my head over it to line it up with the end of the paper, but that turned out pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and trim that down into a strip, and then we'll trim off just enough to tuck behind the top and bottom here. And oh, I do like the way that looks. Doesn't that just finish it off nicely? It's funny how a small detail can add so much. If you enjoy crab and happen to be in Alaska, I highly recommend you put this on your trip itinerary because it was just really, really yummy. I stamped out a few more embellishments. We have another crab, and then food coma. I stamped with lagoon on white and cut that out with the Spotlight on Nature dies, and it looks like a paper plate. We've got the little spoons here, and then meals and memories. I thought these would all be fun to add around the page. If you look at the original sketch design, they suggest a cluster up top and then one down here below the journaling. So let's go ahead and try that out. So I don't want to cover too much of that photo. Let's actually swap these. I've got a big open space in the lower portion of this photo that it is okay to overlap the embellishments. Then we can kind of nestle these together. I'm going to go ahead and tape this down into place because I know I want my photo here. So I might as well just get this secured and then we can build up our embellishment cluster. I do really like putting my embellishments slightly overlapping the photo and everything kind of nestled together. I just think it has such a nice cohesive feel. So this little guy, now we have our cluster down here in the sample, but they also have tags here and here. Now, we know I'm a big fan of tags, so you don't have to twist my arm. I grabbed this collection from my stash. This was an old close to my heart. It's called Seize the Day, and there are papers in here that go beautifully with this. So I cut a couple tags from some scraps and thought we could add some more of that vibrant orange color here. And then this little tag has like a fishing net on it. If you had a stamp set, you could definitely stamp on a tag and make something like that. Those are kind of fun peeking out the side there. And again, I just like that pop of that orange color. So let's try up here where they suggest on the sketch. And I need to grab my rub and move eraser. I got a little adhesive on that. So we'll just layer these kind of behind here. Now they have them more over towards the edge. That's a little bit too far. I'm going to bump them back in here. I did a little more stash diving. There's an anchor and a sticker that says relax and enjoy. Those are from the Cape Cod collection, which was another beach inspired collection. So I want, maybe we need to pull this down here. We do need more down here. I like that sentiment up over the tags there. We could put our anchor over here. And I do like that. Then we have our little meals and memories. Let's add some enamel dots to finish off our tags. So these are from my stash. Back to Tracy's Crab Shack. Again, so delicious. But they had more than crab. First of all, there was crab in, any type of variety of crab you can imagine. But then they have these little crab cakes with this yummy dipping sauce and then like a crab bisque soup. Oh, it was so good on a warm or cold day. It was perfect. Just what we needed. Now, I've been thinking about my title. I did cut out the word Tracy's using my close to my heart outline alphabet dies. So the inside is lagoon, the outside edge is charcoal. And I layered those on a piece of washi tape so I can move them around because I'm not quite sure. So in the sketch, they're up top. I usually like to put my titles underneath here. So that is one option. But you know what? I think I like it up top. So let's move that back up here. I will go ahead and adhere those letters off camera with my Barely Art craft glue. And then I printed out my journaling on vellum. I'm going to tuck this just underneath here. So that kind of worked out perfectly because I don't like to have my journaling on the top of the page. So with the title up top, that left room for the journaling. Now I want to add to the title. So I have this little chipboard shape from Close to My Heart. And I'm going to use this stamp set here. It's called the Memo Alphabet. And I chose this one just because it's small and it'll fit on this tag. So I'm going to use Sapphire ink and we'll just spell out the word Crab Shack. I felt like Tracy's just wasn't quite enough, so I wanted to add Crab Shack into the mix here. Now, I totally did practice on a piece of scrap paper here so that I could get my spacing right. If I'm, stamping this out on a piece of paper and then trimming my ends, that's fine, but this is like a pre-dovetailed piece of chipboard, so there's no do-overs, and I really wanted to make sure it was straight across the center. Alphabet stamps are a great resource to have in your stash. I know my friend Jema, she calls herself a font nerd, and they're just fun to collect because you never know which font or size you're going to need. I went ahead and stamped more of these coral pieces. I feel like with the tags up top and then the weight of this embellishment cluster towards the top right-hand corner, it was just too top heavy and there's nothing down at the bottom to draw your eye. So what I'm doing is just elongating my embellishment cluster, and then I'm thinking we need just a little something down here in the lower corner where the original sketch suggested. It's almost like they knew what they were doing, right? This is that same paper I used to cut the tags from my stash. So I'm just kind of, experimenting with different ways. And I think a little dovetail is going to be the best solution. So we'll cut up from the center and then each corner. And then we'll tuck this underneath here and see how this looks. And again, whenever I do this, I like to have something both under and then over the photo. So let's go ahead and layer one more piece. This one is what I matted the focal photo on the left-hand side with. So I want to bring some of this paper over, and let's go ahead and just put a dovetail in this one really quick. Again, we're just drawing those same colors and patterns over to this side. I dug through my stash looking for some type of little embellishment I could layer over the corner of this photo, and nothing was just kind of feeling right. So I remembered I have this sentiment stamp in my card making bin. So I went ahead and grabbed that. This is an old set called Stitch Together, and I like it because it stamps the outline in color and leaves the text white, almost like you embossed it, and it just says memories. So I popped that up on some foam tape, and we'll layer that right over the bottom of the photo there. Those little additions give this a much more balanced feel. Everything I used can be found in the description box below, and you can also find links to my social media sites for still shots and up-close detail images of this layout. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon here on YouTube.